Well, we were talking about how someone, when they're in their 50s, says, I think maybe I'll get a boat, be a boat racer. I never said I'd be a boat racer, but I said I'd get a boat. And I was in that position because I started a company and built the company, and I had a whole life full of friends in that company. And I had a public board of directors, and the board of directors had a different vision for the company than I had. And I said, if this is what you want to do, you're going to have to do it by yourself. And I guess they kind of said, well, we were hoping you'd say that. And they gave me a 3-year non-compete and paid me a lot. And they said, just don't dare work. We want you out in the field against us. And they said, you'll learn to do leisure. People do somehow. So I thought, okay, I'll get a boat. I'm going to get a boat. Here in Cleveland, where I am now, they used to have, and maybe still have, a big boat show, indoor boat show, and they'd have sailboats in there. And I look at the sailboats. Well, those are cool. I want one of those. I had no particular reason to want one, except for the fact that I have a long, long family history in sailing. I have my grandfather was a clipper ship captain. People don't believe that, but it happens when old goats are in your family and the 60-year-olds are having children like my father had me and like his father had him. So I guess that it's in the blood to have a boat. And I wanted a boat, and it's easy if you got the money. And I called John Carrillo and I said, what about boats? You have any of those? He said, yeah, what are you looking for? I said, I haven't any idea. I don't know. Well, can I come look? And he sold me a boat called a Lady Jane, and it was a beautiful boat, used boat, lovely boat, a Hunter 32 Vision. And if you go back to the designers of the boat and you say to them, how well do you think this thing will race? They'll say, not very well. But I wasn't a racer. I didn't know anything about racing. I wanted a boat. And I got a boat, and I'd go out by myself with it, and with the book, about what to do next laid out in the cockpit. And I get out there, and I saw two kinds of sailboats. There's just two kinds of sailboats in Marina del Rey. They're the ones that come out of the marina and sail up to the buoy that used to be at the Santa Monica Pier, but the Coast Guard cut back on the budget. They go around it and come back, go back and forth up and down the shore. And then the ones go straight out, cluster around for a while in a dizzying situation, and then they're all racing in the same direction. And I realized that if you're going to have a boat, you're going to enjoy a boat, you're going to be a part of the racing community. And I called some friends, and I said, okay, you know anything about racing? And they didn't. And I said, well, we'll all learn together then, won't we? And I entered the boat in its first race, which was the Ensenada race, 125 miles. I told them I'm entering in it because it's a straight line, and the turning part is really hard. I've read about that. I've seen some stuff. So we won't have to worry about that. We have to make a left turn when we get to Ensenada, but that'll be it. And then somebody said to me, well, this is scary. Are you kidding? You're going to be out in the ocean? I said, yeah, there's 600 boats. It's 125 miles. We'll always see boats. I don't think it was more than 3 hours before we were out there all by ourselves. But we raced the boat to Ensenada. I brought it back, and now I was into it. And so I bought a race boat, and I quickly figured out that there were people around who would race that they didn't know how. They'd hang around the front of the yacht club, California Yacht Club, Wednesday night, ask at the desk, anybody want to take me sailing? There's sailing schools that the students say, I love this, now I want to go racing. And the sailing schools figured out, well, we'll call Chuck, because he'll take anybody, because he doesn't know anybody. He'll take anybody, and it was never wrong. I would always take anybody. Just about everybody who ever sailed in my boat learned how to sail on my boat. And there's this magnificent sense of community. You got 21-year-olds, I used to have a 75-year-old foredeck guy. Foredeck on a J105 is a hard job. Be jumping up and down on the foredeck. He'd fly in from Oregon just to be in the races. And you think of it a lot as yelling and screaming and going around the marks and things like that. But everybody gathers together after the race, sits around the yacht club. There are contests that go along with yacht racing. We won the MASH 4077 look-alike contest that the Del Rey Yacht Club had by making my smart car into a army jeep, putting a stretcher on the top of it, and dressed in costume. And there's a haiku contest run by the Cal Yacht Club, and all sorts of things. The pirate contest, and it's enormous fun to have the weekends at Catalina with the big barbecues and things like that. But you wind up getting a bunch of people who care about each other, you know? And so I got started in it because the people I cared about were lost to me. Because the truth is, when I said, I'm not going along with your plans, Ford, they said, don't go back to the office, we'll deliver your stuff in boxes. And I never went back. And so that whole life was gone to me, and I, you know, I don't know where I would be had I not met John Corello, and he got me started in boating. It would certainly not be where I am today. You know, it's not appropriate in this setting, but I'm sort of a political person, and I have some fears about where we're going with this society. And I came upon Robert Putnam's 2020 redo of his 2000 book called Bowling Alone. Putnam's a Harvard professor. Putnam says, right around 1965, we started to lose track of all of the kinds of the gathering together of people. The bowling leagues, the Moose Lodge, all of those things, they stopped existing. And I read that book and I thought to myself, well, he doesn't know boat racing then, because it didn't stop at boat racing. Boat racing, there's a tight-knit community of people who care about each other. I have an endless number of stories about people who needed something and somebody else who came along and said, well, I'll handle that. We had this Tuesday night series, and a fellow put that all together by himself, and he ran it for years. And we were racing Wednesday nights, but he's got a Tuesday night series, and he lived on his boat, and he was, I think he was retired. And the people who raced were not a member of any club or anything, but one day they decided, you know, he needs a new car, he needs another car, his car's too old. And they got the money together and they got him a car. What a wonderful sense of community that is. And somebody's boat needs to be painted or repaired or something, and then the people you know say, hey, you got room on your boat? And now people from other boats are on your boats. I've had wonderful crews put together in a long race like the Santa Barbara King Harbor, where not all boats go, and so those that don't go have crew members who are looking for a ride. I've had some wonderful people on my boat, and I've ridden with other people, and it's just been terrific. So there's a Bowling Alone says we have isolated ourselves, and if we can't figure out a way to get around that, we're not going in the right direction. But Putnam says, interestingly, I could tell you every bad thing about where we are right now in this society, and then I'd give you a revelation. I would say, I'm talking about 1900. I'm talking about 1900. And then people said, this isn't the way we want to be. And by 1965, all of that was far behind us. So Bowling Alone means a lot to me. The whole mixing of people up, getting them together for common enjoyment. We would have a party in my little Walk Street bungalow at Venice at the end of the season, and I would give out the Rookie of the Year award and the Sailor of the Year award, and I'd give out trophies to my crew, and they would always give me something, and they're around the house. And the 2019 season, which was basically, I didn't race much after that because of COVID. The 2019, what they did was they put together these two books of photographs of the 2019 season, and my habit had become to do a race and then write a blog post about the race. And so they've got all the photos and put them together with all the blog posts. So the photos in the book are all narrated. And the one extraordinary one that's in this book is is this one. We were racing the boat tonight. A seal jumped aboard as we headed downwind to the finish. It came over the stern and displaced our driver, Rod Percival, in the friendliest way. I think it was friendly. I'm not a seal whisperer. We asked the seal to leave, and to our great relief, it did. By the way, it was seal number 7272. It had a plastic tag. We turned our attention back to boat racing, and this gave the seal another chance. We were boarded again. After some urging, the seal departed, but returned again, this time moving to the main trimmer position and then to the jib trimmer position in the cockpit. Quick thinking Rob Newman, our Captain Phillips, realized before anyone else that the seal was heading for the companionway. He quickly put in the hatch boards to prevent the takeover, not unlike what happened to the Maersk, Alabama. And Matt, fearless in the face of clear and present danger, coached the seal from 12-bar blues with compassion and kindness. The seal popped up onto the base of the SS Mark and watched as we sailed away. Our seal 7272. Godspeed. We led the fleet around the weather mark and felt good about the race, but somehow or other we finished behind Mistral and Kukulkan and Zulu. I know what you're thinking, our fate was sealed. But that wasn't it. We were beaten before we were boarded. And then I got, said, because people could add to the blog, and somebody came along and said, "Why, you must have been going really slow for a seal to board you." So then the seal wanted to comment. Seal says, "How slow they must have been going to enable the seal to climb aboard." That, in essence, is what a commentator meant when she said they must not have won the race. I take umbrage at this, and I'm compelled to respond on behalf of all of the seals in the Santa Monica Bay. Seals are fast, really fast. Even Teddy, a nickname for the resemblance he bears to Theodore Roosevelt, his real name is 6419, can swim faster than a fast racing boat. I top out at 12 knots. And while it's true that the boat I chose to crew aboard 12-bar Blues did not win the race, it did, despite the distraction, despite the rush for cameras, the posing, and the pleasantries, finish in the top half of the fleet. My point, though, is that I could have climbed aboard Margaritaville, a really fast boat, if I had wanted. Yeah, my sister-in-law got me a subscription to Sail Magazine. I saw the ad for the J105, and they said, "This is a boat you can handle by yourself." That's how it's set up. It's for yourself. And I thought, well, I don't know if I'm going to talk anybody else to do it, but I better get one for myself. There's a group of sailors in the Marina del Rey called the Pacific Single-Handed Sailing Association. And I thought racing was going to be fun, but I didn't have the boat for it, and I didn't have any crew at all. And the J-boat people ran an ad and said, "Here's our new boat, the J105, and we've set it up so it can be sailed by one person quite handily." So I bought one right away I bought one. I didn't even want to wait, because you had to wait. And I called a J-boat dealer, and I said, I want one now. I don't want to wait. And I'm old, I said. and he got one that had just been delivered on spec to a dealer in Texas and shipped it to me. So I joined the Pacific Single-Handed Sailing Association. And here's a terrific group of men and women sailing their boats. And I sailed with them for a long time, but I didn't sail with them in the races, in the really wild races. Like they have a race every second year that goes from Marina del Rey to Guadalupe Island and back. And Guadalupe Island's 300 miles down the coast and 150 miles offshore. And so I got the job. I was always the principal safety officer. And everybody had to call me at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and tell me what their position was and stuff like that. But really hardcore sailors. Just last year in COVID, Rod Percival, who often would be part of my crew, took his 32-footer, 33-footer, cast off from Marina del Rey, sailed it to Hawaii single-handed, stayed there a week, sailed it to the Pacific Northwest single-handed, then sailed it back down. And I was his phone contact during that. And I was not his weather router, because I'm not qualified to do that, but I knew people who were. So I raced quite a long time. in the Pacific single-handed, and in fact won the series on several occasions, and was the Commodore. But really a terrific group of people. But there are sad stories there, because there's a certain danger in single-handed racing, I guess you'd have to say. And we did lose a guy, maybe 10 years or so ago, who was not racing. He had finished the race and stayed overnight at Catalina, and he was coming back. And somehow he slipped off the boat. But the boat, he had it on autopilot, sailed right up to where Navy, it comes down to the beach in Venice, sailed right up onto the sand. And people on the beach said that maybe 4 people jumped off it when it came aground. And we said to the Coast Guard, no, he was by himself. You can find him because he's got a tracker and you can just check the drift. And they said, no, we've got reports from people that he's right around here somewhere. But he wasn't. He fell out middle of the channel, and they found him a couple of days later in Long Beach. I remember sailing the Santa Barbara to King Harbor race one night, and the spinnaker's up, the waves are big, and the wind is strong, and we're just flying. We're going 20 knots, and the boat, if you get it in the wrong position on a gust and on a wave, the rudder will come out of the water. And now, because the boat goes in a straight line because it's got a keel and a rudder, and the flow of the water is coming along. If that rudder's gone, the boat's not going to go in a straight line anymore. It's going to make a sharp turn, 90-degree turn. So we're coming along, and we get in that position. The boat's now sideways, stopped, and we do a quick head count. We have everybody aboard. And I have a woman, a young woman at the wheel. She's driving the boat. She's a young PhD from UCLA. And I said to her, this is dangerous. And she said, that's why we love it. We got the boat going again. We raced away. We flew off the top of a wave. We spun around again. And I said, so now I think we should relax and sail in a different style than we've been sailing, perhaps not with the spinnaker. And so we corrected that. Did well in the race. But Pacific, I have a great affection for the Pacific Single-Handed Sailing Association. It's been going on for many, many years. Anybody who wants to, and they do a double-handed fleet. It's really exciting racing. The whole summer series is shorter races, 25 miles, things like that. And Del Rey Yacht Club runs this race that goes out to Malibu and turns around and comes back. It's a great race. You go up there with your main and your jib or your Genoa, and you turn around and hoist the spinnaker and come back. And a big boat with a 35-foot boat with a spinnaker and a good breeze is moving really fast. And the ability to turn that boat around you can't do it that quickly, because you've got sails that you got to get out of the way. You've got downwind sails that you have to pull. So a boat was in that race and coming along, and the skipper, in some rough conditions, went right overboard. And this boat's going so fast that what you want to do is if somebody goes overboard, you designate somebody to keep an eye on that person and never lose sight of them. But that's pretty tough if you got any kind of waves and the boat's moving 8, 10, 12 knots. So they quickly got on the radio and they said, 58-year-old woman overboard. And the Coast Guard says, okay, all right. And we're listening on radio because we're all going to try and find her, because fortunately for her, she's on one of the fastest boats. So we're all plodding along behind. We're coming to where she's going to be. And I remember clearly the Coast Guard said, all right, who's the skipper of your boat? And the woman on the radio said, here's our skipper. And the Coast Guard said, how old is he? A completely irrelevant piece of information. How old is he? So everybody looked. Took quite a long time to find her. I think about 30 minutes, before there. And then along came a boat that ironically is called Trust Me. A boat called Trust Me, and they found her and they pulled her out of the water. And she had a broken rib, made it tough to signal, you know, and that was a Saturday. And she was back at the wheel of her boat on Wednesday, and I saw her at the yacht club, and she was annoyed. She was annoyed, and I said, well, nobody pushed you off. She said, no, not that. I'm not annoyed about that. That nobody had to say I was 58 years old. I mean, that's really offensive, isn't it? Why does anyone have to know that? Do I look 58? No. No, but she was fine. She's a ferociously good sailor and a really wonderful person. And one of the 12 bar, because we cared about the boat and the crew quite a lot. And we had a tradition of 12 bar blues. We knew just when her birthday was. And in that week, we would, wherever they were, we'd pull our boat up there and everybody on my boat would sing happy birthday. We like to tell people that it's beautiful Southern California, but only the bold go out in the water without a wetsuit because it's pretty cold. So I mentioned that we'd have the year-end party, but we would have other parties, and other boats would have Christmas parties, and we'd be on the lawns of the great estates, and my house was 960 square feet, so it wasn't a great estate, but it was a wonderful party house. And the J105 Nationals were held one year at the California Yacht Club. It's very prestigious to get these national events. So, and it lasts over about 4 days of racing and preliminaries before that. So the fleet gathered in Marina del Rey, and a couple of really phenomenal women on my boat who knew everything about how to have a party decided that they were going to start the P fleet, which was the party fleet. They looked at what the California Yacht Club had planned for the entertainment of all of the sailors who were coming to Los Angeles, and they said, that's not enough. We're going to have a better plan. After they're sending everybody home at 8 o'clock, the real parties are going to start. So they organized the P fleet, and part of it was a party at my house for everybody. Now, 960 square feet, and 125 people show up. I planned, I had 150 wine glasses. So I could handle this, and I had flamenco musicians on a stand, and but there had been a lot of drinking beforehand, so I was getting a bunch of people who were fairly intoxicated. Somebody's crew member came into the house without realizing there was a screen door. So when they came in, and you know, that's what my house was 100 years old, so there's termites and stuff like that. So you hit a screen door wrong, pretty soon you're going to be enshrouded in screen with bits of pine trailing along behind you. And so he came in and wrapped in this, and his crew thought it was wonderfully funny. And somehow, that was Saturday night, somehow they arranged somebody to make the screen door trophy and talk the California Yacht Club into awarding it. And we have a new trophy this year. We have the screen door trophy, and this guy from, I don't know, maybe he was from Ohio, and the fleets were from all over the place. Oh, went up there and he got his trophy. It crosses my mind to think of how proud you are when we were on the podium for the Ensenada race a couple of times, won the Santa Barbara King Harbor another couple of times, and how phenomenal it is to see your crew go up there and get the trophy. It's really so I don't want to say it's all about social. There's a competition here, and winning is good. No one quaked in fear when they saw 12 bar blues come out from behind the break wall to go out to the race course. Nobody quaked in fear, but we did have our moments. People would ask me all the time. They would say, why did you call your boat 12 bar blues? Are you a musician? Which is, the fact is, I'm not. And I would say, well, I just liked it. You know, there was a boat called Aliens Ate My Buick. I liked that name, but somebody already had it, so I could use that. And so I liked the sound of 12-bar blues. I came to California in 1981. I lived in La Cañada. If I was ever on the other side of the 405 freeway, it was because I was going to the airport. And I was so unaware of the boating community that when I decided that I'd like to have a boat, I went to look at boats in Oxnard. I lived in Los Angeles. It never even occurred to me that they might be selling boats in Marina del Rey. I didn't even know anything about Marina del Rey. So I looked at a couple of boats in Oxnard, and somebody said, well, yeah, I guess you haven't been able to find anything in Marina del Rey. Some boat broker said that, and I said, oh, I guess that would be a place to look. And then I found John Corello, and I'm quite confident I found him because I looked at some ads in the Argonaut or in the dinghy. I don't know how else I would have come upon him. I have a ferocious loyalty to the Pacific Single-Handed Sailing Association, and never really occurred to me to join another yacht club, and you really don't have to, because you're welcome to sail in all of their races if that's what you want to do. But I remember a time, you know, the Wednesday night race finishes, and there's a big barbecue outdoors at the California Yacht Club. And the fun thing about it, yeah, there's a restaurant here in this town, and this little town, and people sit at their tables, and no one's ever going to get up to the table and go talk to somebody else at another table. I don't know, but that California Yacht Club, after boat racing on Wednesday, there's people wandering from table to table, swapping their stories. There's a DJ, there are people on the dance floor dancing. It's really terrific. And I remember this one time that there was going to be an event, the West Marine place. They have a big apparel department, and they wanted to have a fashion show. And they said, don't worry about it, Yacht Club, it'll be easy. Your Wednesday night crowd will supply all of the people and the clothes, and they'll parade around in the fashion show. And the California Yacht Club said, no, you bring the fashions over, we'll provide our members to do this. And they got their members, the racing people, in some room somewhere and served them 4 or 5 drinks, I think. And then the music comes up, and out comes the membership of the yacht club wearing this stuff, and they must have been watching the film of some Paris show, because these guys are coming out and they're spinning around and everything. And I thought to myself, this is the reason I belong to this yacht club. These people are having a blast. All of the yacht clubs, you know, they run their racing programs, and it's all volunteers. When you see a committee boat out there, it's volunteers. You know. The Cal Yacht Club, they have not all yacht clubs have their own committee boat. Cal Yacht Club has always had a great committee boat, and they had one, and they had it for a long time, and then they decided they're going to replace it. And at the same time they're going to replace it, the race event that wasn't racing was a haiku contest. Now my boat had won we won all the contests. When we entered there, they're scared of us. You give us literature or trivia contests or something. They go, no, maybe we're not going to win the race, but we're sure winning that. So I wrote this haiku saying the beloved farewell to the old committee boat and the welcome to the brand new committee boat. And I won. And the next week was a race on the weekend. The next one, it took like 3 or 4 days because we were racing Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Saturday, Sunday, Friday night sometimes. And so when we have the Pacific Deepwater race, it's a downwind start, okay? And a Wednesday night race, what they do is a rolling start. The start of the class ahead of you is your 5-minute signal for you. The Deepwater series, they ran a 5-minute with a 1-minute interval in between. I didn't know that. And it's a downwind, so you've got your spinnaker up, you come to the line, and you're looking, oh, where's everyone else? And they're not there. And you think, oh man, we're going to be so last if we have to take this spinnaker down. Maybe there's some way we can save this. Maybe we can just kind of sail along the line and then turn downwind at the right second. But the right second never came, and we ran right into the brand new committee boat. We ran there, they're fending us off. We didn't do really much damage. I think it was $325 at gel coat. I paid. My boat's always at the Marina City Club. All same slip forever, 30 years. I bought the Lady Jane from John Corello in 1992, probably. But I've always been the Marina City Club, and I remember, wasn't too many years ago, for some reason or other, the battery had run down on the boat, and I had a crew there, and we're anxious to go racing. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And one woman who worked for me said, "Oh, give me a minute. Let's get the battery from my car." So 4 people ran to her car with tools. They got a battery out of the car, ran back to the boat, got the boat started. And I thought to myself, you know, it was kind of an innocent time there, because if you go run around the Marina City Club with a battery now, probably someone's going to complain. And the wedding. Here's where I become the minister. This is AIDAN Gabriel. He was the car parker, working from his home. He has a degree in computer science from Loyola Marymount, and working from home, and he had several clients. And the woman who had sailed with me worked with him in the hotel and brought him along one day, and he's just a terrific guy. I have 2 daughters, no sons. If I had a son, he would be the one I'd want to be my son. And then here's Seema, and she got put on board the boat by one of the sailing schools, and they didn't know each other. And then after a period of time, they came to me and they said, "We're kind of, dating." I said, "Well, that's great. I love that." And then after a while, they said, "Now we're going to get married, and we'd like you to do it." And I don't wear suits anymore. But I had this one around, and I packed it up and went down to the hotel in Newport Beach. And when I put the suit on, I realized moths had eaten holes in an arm. So I did the whole wedding where anybody could see with my hand over the holes. I did have, interestingly, I had 4 or 5 people come up to me after that wedding, telling me that they were going to be getting married, or they were renewing their vows and stuff, and they wanted to have me do the service. And I told them, you know, I only made it through because of this guy here, the 9-year-old or 7-year-old ring bearer. He was a very much in demand ring bearer. I said, down here in Orange County, he walked me through every step along the way, calmed me down back in the blue room there, green room, calmed me down about the whole thing. So I said, "You don't need me, you need that guy." And this is inside the channel in Marina del Rey. I think that might be me driving there. But that's just kind of every Wednesday night coming down the channel. And this is the same sort of thing. Comes the sunset, which means we were kind of late. Actually, we were 7th, it says in the text. A nice picture of the sun fading away. The crew in repose, although I think we might still be racing here even. See the flag, class flag, shows there's no wind at all. More crew, me at the wood. Now this is an abundance of caution. We would not normally be wearing life jackets. You should. We didn't. Mark Dorfman, COVID-19 himself to Miami, where he's in the boating business in Miami. The people here they sailed their boat to Mexico, bought a in need of repair boutique hotel, and they're just getting that thing ready to open. This is the committee boat, the California Yacht Club, getting ready for a start. My crew, some of my crew, drifting to the finish, I think. No, that looks like the start of a Tuesday night race. Multicolored spinnaker. And that's Aveda, the dog that lived with me, because the crew member could not keep the dog in the apartment she had, so she had the dog move in with me for 1.5 years. You can't see it from here, but I have a picture over here of Aveda's first look at the Pacific Ocean. She's on the Venice Pier looking out there and a bird flies by. Zulu, a fine racing boat. Friends of mine, PSSA people. And I had a mean moment. I said, well, I like the name of your boat, but I have dyslexia and I read everything backwards. And he looked at me, Caesar Burger, he looked at me, he said, what? I said, yeah, I read it backwards. Your boat's called You Lose. October 22nd, Tuesday night race. I think it's in the video. There's this big rainstorm in the marina we're in. Bunch of boats kind of getting ready to race. There's the committee boat. And you kind of can get the idea that there are people of all ages on this crew. And here's a big race to the finish with Mistral here. And this looks like a J105 here, marked up at the top of the sail. You know, COVID did an interesting thing, though, and March 9th, 2020, and I got a message from the woman who had fallen off the boat, she and her husband, and they'd sent the message to everybody, and they said, it might be easy to dismiss the seriousness of this COVID-19, but this is very serious. Be very careful. And I took that to heart, and I locked myself in the house and figured out how to use Instacart. I didn't go out for a couple of months, but I knew that this was going to be a big change, and one after another, the crew members that I had come to rely on. And this 2019 crew that I had was just phenomenal, just wonderful people. And then they, you know, well, we're moving to, SpaceX says we can live anywhere. Two of my SpaceX people moved out of town. And other people, well, we're going to move to Orange County. And a couple of my people said, we're going sailing. One of them said, I'm going by myself. I'm going wherever my boat will take me. And off he went. And I looked at it and I said, well, we're going to come out of this. But I have to start from scratch. I'm 79 years old. I'll just say 79-year-old skipper looking for a new crew. See if I get an avalanche of people coming my way, and I decided I wouldn't. So I thought, okay, is this going to be it? But no. I could move to Ohio and start a new life there. And we all got, in the early days of that, we got together and we had Zoom crew meetings. Because we're used to having dinner with each other every week. And the J105 Cucullin, Dan Murphy set those up. And I remember somebody saying, well, we're probably going to miss several weeks of sailing. And I remember saying, well, I think we're going to miss several months. And people said, I don't think so. And it turned out eventually people said, well, we're out in the air, we're going to be okay. And I've never heard a bad story about the people who decided to take their boats out and go racing again. For me, it seemed to me that was the end, the time to reopen my Ohio book that I closed when I was 25. See if I could find a few more chapters in it. Spent enjoyable hours in every single yacht club in the marina. And I've never felt unwelcome, because that's not the sailing community. People love you to be in their races. Nobody's running any races these days that are members only. So you get to be everywhere. Now you could find a few people who would say, no, he at least has been a member of the California Yacht Club, because for a season I kept my boat at the yacht club, but I kept it there because one of my crew members was selling his boat, and he said, you know, I'm not sailing it anymore, I'm sailing on your boat, why don't we swap slips? You put mine here, because then when Wednesday night comes around, we'll just meet here at the yacht club. So for a season, my boat was there, and there had been a waiting list at that time. Maybe there still is. So I'm sure everybody said, "Oh, so he's a member," but I never have been racing boat. But everybody else, they have their boats for a while, and then they get another boat. But it would have been an act of betrayal. This boat been with me a long time, and we're together. I mean, it's a very emotional thing. I remember I told you the other day that I'm now moving, and I've given away the trophies, and moving, I've been in the house 16, 17 years, and all my crew members have been in the house as much as They know where all the wine glasses are. They know everything about it. They've cooked the food in there, and so they're all there, and they're helping me pack stuff up and give things away. I gave that motorcycle to AIDAN, who put that video together. I sent it out to a restorer. I said, this thing's 20 years old now. I want it to be as good as new. And they rebuilt it all. And then I said to AIDAN, he'd been coming up the freeway on his little 300cc motorcycle to come racing on Wednesday nights. His employer let him go early. You know, the 300cc, that's a pretty good of a strain when the traffic's going 80. So I gave him that motorcycle. But a lot of the races in Marina del Rey, and particularly part of the Tuesday night series, you race out, you go to the 2ES buoy, you come around the 2ES buoy at El Segundo, and then you come back into the marina. And I've been in races, I've been around the 2ES buoy hundreds of times. You know, I'm racing for years and years and years. I'm racing Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. And I've been around that thing an endless number of times. And so I've dropped off my stuff, the paint cans and everything, and I come down the road there. When you come down the road, you see the 2ES. I broke down completely. I said to myself, I'm never bringing my boat around that 2ES anymore. It was a very emotional moment for me. I'm proud of the fact that 12 Bar Blues in the J105 fleet sailed in the Lipton Cup. Lipton Cup is very prestigious, where the yacht clubs find their very best sailors, and many years ago they decided that the boat of choice would be the J105. And you'd swap the boats down there so they provided boats if you didn't happen to have one in the yacht club. But Cal Yacht Club, they had one. But to train their people and everything, they needed two, so they'd borrow mine, and they'd go out and do match racing to get their crew ready. But I thought the Pacific Single-Handed Sailing Association should be represented in this race. And I went to a couple of the members, and I said, come on, let's do it. And they're all hardcore single-handed and double-handed sailors. I couldn't really convince anybody, so I went to my own crew, and I said, I'm paying for it. You're going to be members of the Pacific Single-Handed Sailing Association. And I even took a couple of people that I was going to try and talk into it. The really good sailors I was going to try and talk into it, but I hadn't had a chance to do it yet. And you had to be a member of the yacht club the year before. So there's some people who have been members of the PSSA. I don't think they ever knew it. Because I spent the money. I spent like $1,000 or $1,200 of memberships to sign up all these people so we could be in the Lipton Cup. It was a high point in the membership of the PSSA. Everybody always says, I wonder what that was about when we had all those members. Well, I was 12 of them. And so we entered the boat in the Lipton Cup, San Diego. And I remember the Lipton Cup people running it, they called. And they said, so we're getting the table reservations now. How many places will you need at your table? And I said, well, I didn't even know there was anything. And they said, well, the Cal Yacht Club, of course, the Commodore and all of the flag staff will be down here, and they have a table for 30. and the Del Rey has it. And I said, well, I'm the Pacific Single-Headed Sailing Association. I think I'll probably just need a table for one. Can you do that? And so they made me a table for two. Because one of my crew members said, well, an adorable member of my crew said, no, you don't want to go there by yourself. Wouldn't you like to have some 20-something? I mean, because this is a competition. Wouldn't you like to have some 20-something sitting there at the table with you? And I said, that would be nice. So, but then when we were in the race, we were fourth in one of the races, we were last in all the rest. And when we came across the finish line and we knew they were taking pictures of the finishing boats, I sent my whole crew down below deck so the PSSA could come across the Lipton Cup line with just me on board. I have pictures around the house here somewhere.